Next, we will talk about Joshingyo. That is the fourth part. So please open your idea. Joshingyo. Joshingyo. This character, which I actually used in some people's Dharma names, Jo. Jo. Shin. We said before Shin. And then Gyo. Jo. Shin. Gyo. So Jo means purification. Of mind, heart. Okay, so this is the first aspect of meditation, Joshingyo. The three components of Joshingyo, there are three components which are important to know. The first is Tanza, T-A-N-Z-A, Choshin. Tanza Choshin means preparing the body with correct sitting position with the back straight. So this is sitting position. As Yam was talking about, everything is interconnected, right? So the position for meditation is very important, you know? So that is one thing, Tanza Choshin, correct sitting posture. Then the second one is Seiki Chosoku. This is a correct breathing practice. Okay, and then number C, number 3, is a Zui-soku Choshin. This is focusing on breathing while inhaling and exhaling to center and calm the mind. Centering the mind. Do you remember what we talked about at the beginning? The 5 aggregates? Not 5 aggregates. The 5 regulating things.
Sleep, breathing.
Sleep and eating, those are 2. To keep those together, and then what were the rest?
Breathing. Mind.
Those 3, exactly. So you have the 5 regulations: eating, sleeping. Those are regulating. When they're saying regulating, that means you have to understand according to your way. 3 then is breathing. Then body and mind. These things are the 3 what we regulate for meditation. We don't regulate eating and sleeping during meditation, hopefully. Maybe some people do. No. Meditation is how you regulate these 3 aspects. Okay? So, Tanza Choshin is the correct sitting posture. That is going to be body, regulating body. Seiki Chosoku is the correct breathing. Zui-soku Choshin, centering the mind. That is mind. That is the key aspects of meditation. And that's why Master Tiantai taught meditation, was because that was used to regulate those 2. So in yoga, they use the pranayama, right, for regulating breathing, right? Then they use the body as what? Asana, the body posture, asana. And then they use this one as a concentration, that is a kind of samadhi, is the end result of that idea. But they use the idea of concentrating the mind for this one. That's what the 8 limbs of yoga. So here, these 3 aspects are very important. So after we do Samborai, we do Joshingyo to practice to purify the mind and heart. Joshingyo may be more accurately expressed as Jo, purification. Shin, mind, heart. Shin, physical body. Gyo. Jo, shin, shin, gyo. Or the purification of mind, heart, and body. See, mind, heart, and body. These three aspects we're talking about. That's just another way they categorize it. The practice of Joshingyo is the best practice for harmonizing and purifying the mind and heart and body. It is also a superior practice for health, even if separated from the practice of Shodaigyo. That's why when they talk about health, whereas you look at yoga, these are the parts of yoga that yoga focuses on, are this. Okay, so it's the same thing. This is a style of yoga for preparing ourselves. Tanza Choshin, sitting posture, begins with, it's very important. First, it begins, as we said, with sitting upright. So that means you have to imagine the center line, like a pendulum, drop down the middle of your body, down the center. And you have these kind of hips. Now, I have scoliosis, so my hips and shoulders are off, really off. So sometimes I get them fixed, but yoga helps to adjust it. But you have to kind of find your center. So when you're sitting, you're not pushing your belly forward, but it's kind of flat, but there's a tension there. And then you can move left to right like a pendulum and make it big to small. You can kind of find where the center is, then front and back like this. That is where your center is. Then you sit there. Don't move. Why shouldn't we move when we do that? What happens if you move?
After you find your position.
Yeah, when you're meditating, what happens if you move?
Your mind.
Your mind moves. Yeah, very important. All of these things affect the mind. That's why we have to regulate the breathing and the body to regulate the mind. Most people try to control the mind without taking those things into account. Do you ever see people do that?
I have like sometimes tendency just if I close my eyes, I just go like this and I feel it and I think I fall asleep again, but I think I'm awake.
Well, actually,
and Jean would be like, you're just like completely doing this. It's like just, but I just can't.
That's because your concentration is missing.
Oh.
Yeah,
but I do Namam Myoho Renge Kyo, but I still fall asleep.
Yeah, so there's some missing points of concentration because actually samadhi means continuous concentration. But as you get used to it, sometimes you go boop, 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 right? In between those points are like that. It happens to everyone, not just you. So it takes time to connect these lines.
And it's so annoying because it's like
give up
hurting
hope.
my neck. I'm like,
Yeah. It feels like you're falling off a cliff or something. I know what you're doing. So there are two types of position. The first one is most people cannot do. It's called the Keka Fuza. Keka Fuza is actually the full lotus position. How many people here can do full lotus?
I can't.
Yeah. Michael? Full lotus?
So 30 years ago, yeah.
30 years. Actually, many people say, they show off with this one. What's the purpose of posture and meditation? Stability, right? Not to look good. One of the greatest, did I ever tell you this story? My master taught me this, that there was a great parable he told me, or story, and he said, there was once this young monk that, always annoyed with his master, right? His master always seems to criticize him and say something difficult. But then one day, the master saw him sitting meditation, and he was very good at meditation. He was very regal, and the master said, you look like the Buddha. And so, of course, he had never heard the kind of thing like that. So he said, I must look like the Buddha, of course, right? Then the master asked, what do I look like? My posture. And the student, always having been beaten by the master, so he thought, he wanted to get his own. So when the master asked that question, he looked to the master and he said, Your posture looks nothing but like a pile of cow dung. And he was very pleased with himself. So we immediately, when you're pleased, what do? Have to tell someone else. So he ran home and told his sister recounted the whole story and said, you know something? Finally got back to him. And the sister looked at him and shook her head and said, ah, my brother, you had a terrible loss today. He goes, well, what are you talking about? He goes, whereas the master always sees the Buddha in people, all you see is cow dung. So that's the best story. That's the best. Next is a Han Kaza. Han means half. Kaza means half lotus. So half lotus, how many people do half lotus?
I think I can barely.
Huh?
Yes, almost.
Almost. So your foot fall asleep all the time? Okay.
It's too stretched.
Like that, and this one was.
Yeah, always this one. Whenever you're doing lotus, it's important to know. So, okay. Oh, no, Kane, did you hear your knee? Don't do that. I heard your knee. Don't, no. I'll show you why. You're going to damage your knees.
Okay.
This is why people who do the yoga thing, you're like, ah! You see them like doing this with their leg, damaging themselves. That's not yoga. That's stupidity. So the idea is to make a base. Okay. So the base is under your bum. So when I sit forward, I'm sitting on my heel. That's providing a base under there. It's not just sitting there. It's there. Then what happens is, this is why this is important. This is how you don't ruin your knees. Many people who sit meditation for a long time damage their knees so they can hardly walk, right? So the idea is, you see how your leg goes like this? That's the natural way of your leg. Your leg doesn't go this way, right? When it goes that way, nurse, is that a good thing?
No.
No, you're not, especially if you know anatomy, not good. So you always want to go with the way of it. Also, it's attached to a hip. So they actually, this exercise like this, it's just moving that hip, keeping that knee where it is, going back, then allowing it to rotate on the hip and go down. And then it sits up on like that.
Okay, so go back this way.
Yeah, back to the hip and allow the hip to turn, not the knee. People turn it at the knee. Yeah.
Okay.
I am
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They turn it at the knee and your knee doesn't go that way. Your hip is a socket, so it moves you can move around. Your knee goes this way and that way. What's that called? When the muscle only goes forward and backwards, right? There's a certain kind of motion for that. That is that way. Then this comes close to the body like that. Then if you did full lotus, this would come out and go over.
Oh my
Okay?
God.
But this is a very stable posture. That's the only purpose for it. See how your knee is? Your knees should be touching the ground. Both of my knees are touching the ground. Because you have to have 3 points of reference. If your knees are up like this, you're not very, how do you say, stable. There's no point to do that then, okay? So if you spend your whole next couple months trying to go, say, I got into Kikafuza, but you're like this the whole time, that's not really good for the regulating the body, and I'm sure you're breathing. I remember one time in the monastery, one person, and then when you bring it out, see, it's in the hip, comes up the way it came out and out. People turn their knee like this and just go bump like that. No, you'll develop your knee. So one person fell asleep. So we had to put hot towels on his legs because he put himself in the full lotus and couldn't take him out. And then one time I was in the monastery, this actually happened to me. I was sitting in the full lotus and I fell asleep, but then I kind of fell forward because it was this like 1 week practice. So I fell forward like a Buddha statue falling over. And my legs were stuck, so it looked like a statue, but they had to pick me up and put me back. Yeah, that was funny. So, but the other one is called, I think they called this Burmese style. So with Burmese style, same thing. It goes under the bum as a base, and then what you do, so people can see online. Can you see my feet here? Oh, it's all black. Sorry.
No.
There you go, like that, okay? So you have this one go under your bum, that's your right side, that's your base. Then what happens is this just comes up and it forms a natural like this. So they're not on top of each other, they're in front of each other. Okay, so let me do it for the people here online. See, oh, the black is a good contrast with this one. You can see it better, right? So, and this one, Burmese style, you can sit anywhere. You can sit without a cushion. Because Sifu, he said, don't do that with a cushion, you know. He didn't like monks that needed extra stuff. So take this one, right, put it under the base, right, like that. And this one comes in just like that. And when my knees are touching and my back is touching. That's Burmese style. So that'll take time because he's leaning forward. That means he's tight in the hips.
Yeah.
That's why today we did the exercise with the hips going forward. And then we did our samurai posture, the sumo posture. That's going to fix that because then you'll sit up straight. See? Then this comes close.
More natural. It looks
Much more natural. But for me, half lotus is good too. But you know, yeah, that's right. And then let that go down natural. But
See, I'm not
yeah,
flexible enough yet.
so that's I use it here, just like this. Can you guys see that? Here's one foot, here's the other. They just come together. This is just like this. This isn't up on my leg. Yeah, there you go. See? Now you look like a professional yogi in 2 minutes. We could do this as an infomercial. How to sit correct meditation in 2 minutes.
Mine's
So with your, again, in your hips. So in that situation, until you flex that out, if your knees come up like this, you always want to support the knees. Put the pillows under your knees. Okay, that's the point. So you're not doing the weeble wobble thing, okay? We want 3 points of contact, whatever that is. If you need additional support, use that. Okay? And then also with the Shodaigyo, keep it close to your body. All right. And then naturally, as you get flexing, you can sit up straight. See here, there's a little tenseness there. Okay. All right. Yep. Go ahead. Question?
No.
Oh, okay. Good, good. See? That made it all worthwhile. Look at that. That's a nice posture you got there. You're welcome. Okay. I saw.
Where did we get the term Burmese?
I don't know. I think that's maybe how they sit. I think maybe the monks sit that way. I've seen Thai monks sit like that. They don't do the whole this thing. I think that's more Chinese or yogic type idea. But they don't really do that. They kind of the forest monks. When I lived with the forest monks in they came to Toronto and they built a retreat up in Toronto, part of it. They would sit for this style, Burmese style. They wouldn't do full lotus or anything like that. So
It feels really comfortable. It feels like real balance without having to use, like you said, anything.
that's right. So then if these are uncommon, then you can of course sit the Seiza, which is Vajrasana. But again, sometimes that's difficult, right? So
Without a pillow, it's very good.
it's very tough. Again, you move, but again, Buddha, the meditation is not meant to be torture, okay? So if you're torturing yourself, you may need to talk to somebody about that. You know, you may want to talk to somebody you trust about that and work that out. But again, we're not trying to torture ourselves nor other people. So therefore, for the correct hand position, the left hand palm faces up and rest on the right palm like this. Left, right. This is called Shodaigyo. Left on top of right. And another thing is, some people do this really big thing like that. I don't think so. These connections, there's a reason why in Chinese physiology, why they do that. Each one of these fingers is a meridian. Could you imagine what these meridians are with your thumbs?
Yeah, probably the whole body.
No, what are we using?
Oh, the mind.
Breathing. Lungs. That's why they're touching. And then also, you were talking about mind. These are also the other 5 channels. This is perfectly balanced. But
Sensei,
focusing
can
on
you
it.
come closer to the camera so we can see?
I can
is that
come
okay?
closer to the camera.
Thank you.
I just didn't know how close you wanted me to the camera. so-
That's good.
Oh, okay, I'll stop right there. So it's the left on top of right like this. Fingers, you see how they're kind of in this natural, they stay flat. Then the thumbs barely touch. If you have your fingers too far apart like this, you'll find out these are coming apart. You probably experienced that when you're doing meditation, that these fingers come apart. That means bring them a little closer together, your fingers, and they'll touch naturally. There shouldn't be any strain. Okay?
Okay.
So, and then where you put it, so here's my belly button, right here. It's right below your belly button, right on that hip. See where your hips go? They say about 2 inches below your belly button is your 1 point. Your hips are here. That is about 1.5 inches below your belly button. That's where you place it. And close to the body, Master Tiantai specifically states. That's the concentrated type purpose. And again, it's connecting everything. But it's not like this either. So relax the shoulders back. Shoulder, again, arms together, close to your body.